Miss Christina. Okay, y'all, so excited. We are doing these Monday masterclasses every week. And I will be honest, I got really nervous asking two good friends to do this because they're so busy, so high level. Their times are blocked out. Like I know for a fact they have managed schedules and they plan things ahead of time. And if you've been here long enough, you know, I fly by the seat of my pants. So I'm like, hey, y'all want to do a call? They're like, yes, but we need like some order in this thing. But here's what's amazing. What's so fun is doing this business for a decade and getting to watch people come along and blow past you. It's literally like, I kind of felt like I was in like a really good pace on the highway. You ever like, I'm going speed limit, I'm going a little over the speed limit. And all of a sudden these two are just like flying past, and it's fun. It's like, oh, we can do this. It creates energy. And so who you're about to hear from between Brittney Howard and Christina Williams is, it's a duo that are so different. They bounce off of each other in incredible ways. They make each other better. And because they make each other better, they make all of us better. Like truly, we are all a benefit of the two of them coming alongside each other and championing each other and cheering each other on. And because they have poured so much into each other and their teams, and honestly, all of us, if you got a chance to hear from them at convention, Becky and I were sitting on the floor, on the front row of their session. Like we were like, we don't even need seats. We like walked right past all the seats and just plopped ourselves down on the ground to get to listen to these two friends. And so I just want to challenge you to take notes, to really dig into what Brittney and Christina say and what part of this is for you. We may not be all of it, but what part of this is for you, and what vision are you going to really see for yourself through what we have available to us. So I'm just going to hand the call over. We're going to do some Q&A when they finish. So you better highlight, star, like put a little symbol next to wherever you want to ask a question, because it's going to be available to you for a very limited time. So limited time only at the end of this call. So take it away, girls.
So hold on before you start, Britt. Listen, you said we just zoomed past you on the interstate. What you didn't see was all the sputtering and like my son just turned 16. He gets his license tomorrow and he has a stick shift Jeep. And so pretty much his driving is actually how my business looked. So maybe finally, eventually we had some momentum, but listen, we have conked out and rolled backwards into other cars on hills. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. So yeah, I just full disclosure, the zooming past was probably after I had to come get my battery jumped off by Brittney for the 900th time. So it's all good.
Oh, I actually wrote down thoughts when she said the zooming past too, because I'm envisioning, I'm in that car on the side of the interstate that you go past and you see like the engine's on fire and smoke's coming out and you kind of feel sorry for them and you just like, hope they get some help. But I would not say we blew past you, Andrea. I would say maybe, hopefully, quite possibly, we might catch up at some point, but blow past, no. And also, we saw you guys sitting on the ground, and listen, we were so flattered by that because, and also just really, we admire the humility because both of you are diamonds, and we have respected you guys for years and learned from you guys for years and been inspired by your success for years. And so to see you guys in there on the floor watching us, it definitely spoke volumes about your humility and also just was very flattering. So thank you.
What she also means is we almost crapped our pants. We were like, is that Andrea and Becky? Okay, focus forward. What are we going to say? What are we doing? What are we doing? So yeah, that's what she actually means. Flattered, yes. And then we were like, oh man, we might, oh no. So it was fun.
Yes. All right. So we just thought that we would share with you guys our story. And we'll start by telling you kind of how we met and how we became business builders together. And then we want to share with you like just our struggles along the way and just like what we've overcome, because we do feel like at this point we have figured a few things out and we have had a measure of success at this point, but it didn't come without adversity, challenge, failures, and sometimes flat out embarrassing ourselves. So we met in middle school or high school, I think middle school, but we didn't really hang out because she was an athlete and I was a band nerd. Also, she tried to steal my boyfriend one time. She did not win.
Listen, the whole me trying to steal the boyfriend thing, that has been the funny story. And it finally got topped the other day because of one of my level ones and another one of her level ones. Her husband actually arrested her husband back before they were husbands. So I'm like, oh, y'all win. Y'all win. No more is the me stealing the boyfriend the most entertaining story. Now it's your husband locked up her husband. So
what we're saying is don't prejudge anybody, okay? Don't prejudge. So, anyways, she did actually try to steal my boyfriend.
It was cute.
She did. He was good looking. He was. Unfortunately, everyone thought so. But, and I say that she didn't win, but actually maybe she did, because I ended up marrying the guy and then we got a divorce because he wasn't faithful. So maybe she did actually win. Maybe I got the short end of that stick. But anyways, I digress. So we went to the same high school, and then we didn't talk after high school for years and years. But I would say common tragedy kind of bonded us, even though we didn't actually say any words to each other. So my ex-husband, the one she tried to steal, ironically, he actually died in a car accident. And I remember at his funeral, as I was walking out of the service, I saw her in the audience and we made eye contact, and she just kind of like nodded at me and, like, without saying any words, just kind of communicated across the room, like, I know what you're going through. Because a few years prior, her brother, who was 21 at the time, I think she was 19 and pregnant with her first child, he had died. He drowned, and we both had experienced those tragedies. And so we both had experienced, like, at a very early age, just massive loss and just some heartache and grief. And so even then, though, we still didn't talk until years later, when I started my Plexus business. She was actually one of my first customers, and she used the products and loved the products, came off 3 blood pressure medications, even for a whole entire year before she actually started working the business with me. Anything you want to add at this point, Christina?
Yeah. So for this whole year, I was ordering as a retail customer because I was convinced that if I gave her my social security number, that somehow it was going to obligate me into building this, which is what I knew she actually wanted. And there was no way. I was a school teacher, and she kept telling me she was going to help me get rich. And I kept thinking, but I make more money than you. How are you going to help me get rich? And so I just like basically wished her well. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I will use your products, but I'm going to pay full price for them. Like, you're not roping me in, girl. No. And so I told her no for over a year. No, or ignored her, or sometimes we would, no, that was rude. Sometimes we would banter back and forth. And then finally she messaged me, and the message that got my attention, she said, hey, I just got a paycheck with a comment in it. And I know that you have a paycheck with a comment in it, but I'm at home with my kids in yoga pants and you're in a classroom away from yours. Something kind of say that. Probably not that direct. That's what I perceived. What I perceived is, see, now we're both winning, but your win comes at a way greater cost than my win. That's what I heard in the message.
Yes. So I do remember this message that said, I just got my first paycheck with a comment in it. And you could also do this too. Pretty sure that's what it said. But it wasn't, you didn't even join me then. It was like 8 months later after that. Because I was homeschooling my kids. I didn't have a career. I've always been a stay-at-home mom. She was a successful school teacher, multiple graduate degrees. So yes, she was making more money than me. But when it got to the point where I topped her income, I surpassed what she could ever even cap out at with her multiple graduate degrees in that field, that's when it got her attention. And I was Ruby at the time, and getting close to senior Ruby when she finally did decide she was ready to do this.
Let me say something about that. So I think you need to hear that is, Brittney said I was one of her first customers. She also has told other people before I was always kind of a dream teamer of hers, but she didn't wait for me to say yes to go start being successful. By the time I finally joined, she was already Ruby. And what that communicated to me was, homegirl's going to do this whether I'm on board or not. Like, she's not depending on me. She's not desperate for me to figure this out with her. She's going to go do something. But it also communicated, if I trust her to help me figure this out, I can count on her to stay in this. Like at that point, her credibility was high enough in regards to the opportunity. She had been very consistent in her business and also in her pursuit of me. So I knew that it communicated that I could trust her. Like, even if I did this weird out of the box, scary thing, at least I'd be doing it with somebody who at that point was several steps ahead of me, which as a type 3, for me to be willing to follow you, you're going to have some results. And so if she had waited or just slowed down or let the fact that I told her she was crazy stop her, she would have never had the results, which obviously was the invitation for me to come do it too. So just different personality types, certain things are going to motivate them. And for me, what motivates me is somebody else getting results. Go show me that you're going to go do what you're saying I can go do.
Totally agree with that. And I've always been a firm believer that if you want to inspire people, the best thing you can do is be successful without them. Like, you don't want anybody feeling like your success depends on their decision, because it doesn't. And same is true as a leader. If you have an unmotivated team and you want to motivate and inspire your team, go be successful without them. They will be motivated and inspired by that. They will. Okay. Go create some momentum that doesn't involve them, and they will be inspired and motivated by that. All right. So you joined me when I was almost a senior Ruby, and then we lived happily ever after. The end.
Yeah, no.
So you went Ruby in like 8 months. Like, yeah. I felt like it was pretty fast.
Yeah.
But we didn't just like skyrocket to the top. There was a lot of failing forward. There were a lot of just hard lessons learned. There was a lot of struggle. There's also a lot of success and victories. But maybe we should start at silver and kind of just like compare, like at each rank, what was our biggest hurdle at each rank. So when I was a silver, my biggest hurdle was probably belief in the products and belief in myself that I actually could be successful at this. I didn't really doubt I definitely had belief in network marketing as an opportunity, just because I saw so many people being successful at it. But I did doubt that anybody would want to join my team. And I did not have full belief in the products.
So I definitely had belief in the products, and I told you I'm a type 3. So belief in myself has never been an issue. It was belief in the opportunity. I'm telling you, I'm over here like, they're going to pull out some snake oil and some chickens. I am convinced. Like, where do we have to like slice our hand and mix blood? Like, I was real skeptical. And then I thought, even if I do make it, will I get to keep it? And so Brittney has always valued freedom more than anything. I've always valued security right next to freedom. So just this, what felt like in my brain at the beginning, this lofty pursuit of freedom, I wasn't free to chase that because I also deeply value security. So silver, I tried to quit because I'm a type 3 and I like to win. I'm on a call. No, yeah. And so I like to win. I like to be successful. And the way type 3s always succeed at things is they don't do things they're not good at. And so it took me 3.5 weeks to get my first join. And I'm like, listen, I don't do things I'm not good at. And clearly I'm not cut out for this. And she's like, no, you are. Like, just keep going. We'll give you feedback on this, or we'll fix that. It's going to be fine. So I did end up going silver. It took me a little over a month, which felt like 14 years.
Yeah. So I also value security, but I think you probably had more at stake with and I also think that you have to be willing to give up the security in order to have the freedom. And if you're willing to do that, you can have both. You can have security and freedom. So I'm glad that you were willing to do that. But I was a stay-at-home mom making $0 before Plexus. So it wasn't like I was having to, all of my my income was like addition. It wasn't like having to give something up other than my time and my reputation. Okay. So at gold, biggest struggle at gold was probably some conflict with my downline, who she came in hot and she was recruiting like crazy, and she thought that she knew more about the business than I did and didn't want anything to do with my leadership, which at that point she wasn't really wrong, because I had no idea what I was doing. but she definitely wouldn't let me in. She would get super offended anytime I would try to interact with her team or just like support or insert myself. She just would get real offended by that. So that was hard for me. It made me feel like a terrible leader. It made me feel left out. It definitely kind of amplified my feelings of, can I actually do this? And would anybody actually want to be on my team? So that was hard. So probably just like not feeling like a leader, even though I did actually have a working team, was my biggest struggle at Gold.
You know what I want to say to her now? I want to say, nanny, nanny, boo, boo. Don't you wish you had picked her for your power partner? Because it's working out okay for me. Biggest struggle at Gold, probably nothing at that point. I just recruited all 20 people myself and thought I was winning. And then Senior Gold, the struggle between Gold and Senior Gold was comparison, because Brittney, she was upset with, certain downlines. So she just went and created other legs. And so she was creating legs that were flying, like these fast start golds back in the day when that was not even really a thing, was a thing. And I'm like, how are they doing that? I'm Gold too, but I had to do it all by myself. These girls have teams. How do you get a team? And so I think that's when I started struggling with comparison, probably. Also just that real brutal look in the mirror, like, oh, they have a team because they care about more than just themselves. That is interesting. Like, didn't know people actually operated that way. So she's like, you're going to have to help, like, care about people, help people get what they want. You'll get what you want. And I'm thinking, is there another way? Like, is there option B? How can we get what I want without having to help all the people get what they want? So that's when she's like, Christina, you have to care about people. And I did care about people, as long as, oh, that sounds terrible. I'm not saying it that way.
Becky's nodding, like, say it, just say it.
I mean, as long as they were like a means to an end, which then I felt a little bit guilty, but I realized that was probably the Holy Spirit proud of me back then, but we weren't on the same page then. But I did feel like, well, this feels a little like not in great alignment, but also it's just the only way I've ever operated. So comparison.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was a Senior Gold, my biggest struggle, I don't feel like, I don't really remember any biggest struggles at like Senior Gold Ruby and Senior Ruby. Really, I feel like the biggest struggle probably was fear, because my team was in full momentum and I was like growing really, really fast. So it was fun and it was intoxicating, almost super fun. But in the back of my mind, the nagging fear of what if it all goes away? What if this stops? If it does stop, how am I going to, I don't even know how I made this happen in the first place. So could I actually do it again? So probably just like a lot of nagging fears in the back of my mind. But I did eventually start feeling like a leader, because I did, like Christina said, I was creating business builders back to back to back, and they were all growing quickly. And so that made me feel like, oh, I don't even need that first leg. She don't want me to be her leader. I'll go find some other people who want me to be their leader. So that's what I did. Christina was one of them. And so yeah, how about you, Christina?
Ruby, Senior Ruby, what an interesting experience. So we went Ruby quickly. 8 months was quick. It felt quick back then, but I didn't have leaders at the time. I had some workers. But I think what I struggled with was the idea that I was going to have to raise my leadership lid so that I could raise the quality of people I was attracting. I couldn't figure out. I looked around, I'm like, how come I'm attracting this kind of person, this kind of person, this kind of person? And then I realized I must be the common denominator. So again, it was one of those brutal looks in the mirror, like, dang, I bet you attract what you are. That's not a good look for me. So I might have to go learn something or grow or something. So basically that was a pruning season for me. It was also, none of the leaders that I had on the way to Ruby, none of them are here. None of them here. So, I mean, that was kind of the truth of the matter. Like the team that gets you to one rank, Brittney has been very consistent. Most of the girls that have been with us since we started, they're still all here with her. But I had a lot of growing to do. So bless their hearts. They're not here anymore, probably because I wasn't a great leader back then, but they weren't. I had to be willing to basically rebuild, and I had to rebuild after a very public rank miss. We announced to our team, I know, don't make that face, Britt. It was so painful back then. We announced to the team we were going to go senior Ruby. And we did go senior Ruby. It's back before you got points for welcome pack. So you guys remember this. And it's also back when virtual office was not necessarily as user friendly. And so we had figured up all the points, and I'm like, okay, I think we're here. I think we made it. Like, it was a push. Okay. Probably the hardest, as a matter of fact, the hardest push to date. And Britt's like, you might want to go get one or two more. And I'm like, no, we got it. Here's the list of people I know for a fact we're in. So she's like, okay, makes the announcement. We tell everybody we made it, go to sleep, wake up on the 1st. 750 is what you need to be senior Ruby. And we woke up and we were 747. So I had missed senior Ruby by not even a whole level 1, did not achieve it. So then we had to go back and tell the team, actually, we did not make it. So that was embarrassing. I actually had a sideline message me and say, like, how do you even move forward from this? We would totally understand if you walked away. Like, and I just remember thinking, what do you mean? Look how freaking close we got. Like, we're not going to walk away. So that was embarrassing. Listen, that's kind of par for the course with me, you guys. I just am an open book, and sometimes it makes me look like a total fool, and it's inspiring eventually. Like, eventually the embarrassments turn into inspiration if you just will stay the course.
If you just don't give up. Okay. So at Emerald, so I was Emerald for 2 years, and I felt great about hitting Emerald. It felt like the biggest accomplishment of my entire life. At that point, I was earning 6 figures, and I don't think I knew anyone personally that was earning that amount of money. And so it felt like a big deal to me. And I was proud of that accomplishment. And I think I got into management mode. I love leading my team. It's literally my favorite part, and I could do it all day. As a matter of fact, sometimes I feel like I do that all day, but good thing I love it. But I probably got into management mode, and I just thought, oh, well, I got all these people who are hungry for the business. Now let me just help them get to where I'm at. And then I'll be a diamond. If I get 3 emeralds, then I'll be a diamond. Apparently that's not how it works. So after probably about 18 months of being emerald and going to Hawaii 3 times by myself with nobody on my team there, and showing up at convention 3 different years as an emerald, I just eventually got hungry enough to change my behavior, and I got into activity and started creating business builders again. So and I was just willing to do whatever it took to get over that hump. I started messaging 20 new people a day, and just I remember the whole month of December that year, like, my team felt quiet, like didn't seem like anybody was hungry. And it was real scary because, like, my points kept getting like closer and closer, like to the 1500 mark. And I had never not maintained emerald. And so I was like, oh, that's real uncomfortable. I'm going to get my hiney into gear. So I started that whole month of December, 20 new people every single day. I recruited nobody. Then that January, I recruited 3. And then in January, I recruited 5. February, 3 out of the 5 went silver. And then a few months later, I was sapphire, and I had one of those silvers actually turned into a jewel on my team eventually. So I just got myself back into momentum personally with creating new business builders.
I love how you said I got back into momentum personally. Guys, when you stop waiting for your team to get you into momentum and you just decide to get into personal momentum yourself, momentum is an energy. It's just a decision, and it's energy poured into that decision. Also, I'm really glad that we're almost through the painful ranks, because Emerald was also the most painful year of my life. Brittney tried to break up with me. So I'll have you guys know that it's not all roses and sunshine where she's concerned. Okay. So I hit Emerald in April of 2019 and did not hit it again for almost a solid year. And man, as a type 3, shame is the emotion that we struggle with the most. And it's not necessarily shame because I needed the trip to Hawaii. It was what everybody would know about me if I did not make that trip to Hawaii. It's what it would be communicating to my team and to myself. And I was just in a bad way. And I battled. Scarcity is the thing I battle the most often. If I do struggle with some sort of mindset issue, it's always scarcity. It's all going to go away. It's all going to go away. It's all going to go away. That's the year that I learned I'll always battle that, but I got to come up armed against it. Like I'm going to have to take action to become armed against the thing that has the most power over shutting me down. And so I was not growing, was not even willing to grow. Like I would read the chapter of the book that I had to come teach, or I would listen to the team call that I had to come lead, but it's probably ego and pride. It felt like a waste of time. She's like, you're gonna have to grow. You've got to raise your leadership lid. And I'm like, wah, wah, wah. No, let me just go work. I will outwork anybody in this world. Just tell me what to go do. And she would say, it's not in what you have to go do, Christina. It's who you have to become. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't seem very concrete. And I mean, I already had, no offense to, I had already become better than I ever thought I would be. So the idea I could somehow get even better. I mean, I didn't come from, my dad's a police officer. My mom's been disabled my whole entire life. We grew up in the trailer park. Like I had already achieved way beyond what I ever would. And I never really probably understood why I had achieved it. And that's probably why I was so scared it was going to go away. So this idea that I had to take ownership to go get even better felt completely overwhelming. And so I just resisted it. And so that is when Brittney finally said, listen, you're not willing to do what it's going to take to get you to the next level. And your fear and emotional turmoil around all this, it's affecting me. And so we're going to have to part ways, basically is what she said, unless you become willing. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to risk my emotional health because you're in such a bad way. So I said, well, that's ridiculous. We're not breaking up. What do you want me to do? Like what? She's like, learn something. And I'm like, fine. So then to kind of prove her wrong, I just jumped headfirst into all the personal growth I could find and decided to be excited about learning. And I don't know what the heck happened, but the next thing I knew, we were sapphire and then diamond. And then here we are. So the rest of the ranks were great, but those first 6 or 7, woo, there was no party. I mean, I'm telling you, every single rank. Brittney, I think, always was more solid at every rank, because she had such good foundation. I'm telling you, at most ranks until sapphire and diamond, I still felt like a total wreck. Like I didn't really know how we got there. Why are you making that face?
I feel like I need to tell my side of this story.
What, the one where you almost broke up with me and you ruined what?
Yeah, that. And then I'm curious about this foundation comment. What do you mean by that? How did I have a good foundation? What does that mean?
Because you've always had some strong leader, like some of the leaders that you've had for years and years. So like I felt like I didn't. I just had to keep recycling people. Like they would come and then they would go. And so,
you mean the leaders in my downline?
Yeah. So like the work was always super heavy. And every time I would look for people who were going to help hold my arms up, sometimes they'd be gone. And I'd be like, oh, I thought Moses, he had folks. Where is it Moses that held his arms up? I hadn't got there yet.
It was Aaron that held Moses' arms up, I think.
Well, I didn't have no Aarons. I didn't. I had a bunch of Judases. I'm just kidding. It was my fault. It really was my fault. I wasn't doing what it took to build belief and vision in people. And so when things got hard, everybody hits that fork in the road where they have to decide to either do this or, make an early exit. Like that was fun while it lasted. And so that uncomfortable bend in people's businesses was awkward for me. And so I just didn't engage. I just let them go, make the easy exit. So.
Yeah. So one thing you said I thought was interesting. You said that you just wanted to work. You didn't want to focus on growing or changing or learning. You just wanted to work. Yeah. And you just said you were working, but didn't feel like you were growing. And I just want to point out here that Christina has always been the top recruiter on my team. Like consistently, pretty much every month, Christina Williams, top recruiter. And so it's interesting for her to say, I was working so hard and also top recruiter on my entire team and not growing. And that's leadership issue, right? That's why I was saying, Yes, there's going to have to be some learning here because you can get customers till the cows come home. But Christina, if you want to be in Hawaii next year, what you have to do is create business builders. Like just go focus on creating one new silver every single month. And when Christina says that she will work, she means she will work. And she will execute and she will apply. If you just give her a game plan and tell her what to do, except read a book, with the exception of that, she'll do anything else. So I'm just kidding. She does read books now. But no, at that point, though, she did start developing a new silver every single month. And it was like clockwork, like 4 or 5 months in a row. She developed a new level 1 silver. And then suddenly, like month 6, it was like 2 new level 1 silvers. And then month 7, it was like 3 new level 1 silvers. 1 month, right before she hit diamond, 5 new level 1 silvers in the same month. Who does that, right? That's when she went diamond. That's when she went from emerald to diamond, and not holding emerald. She wasn't even holding emerald. Like she didn't even hit emerald until the month before. I mean, she didn't re-hit emerald after not maintaining emerald for a whole year. She didn't re-hit those 1,500 points until the month before she went sapphire. And then the month after that, she went diamond and then diamond re-entry. That's the power of duplication and leadership. And that is what she switched. And that's why the weight felt so heavy before then. And she just felt like, I'm spinning my wheels. I'm working really hard. I'm going nowhere fast. It's because she wasn't creating business builders. But once she got so focused on that, then she kept being focused on it and just so consistent with it that eventually she mastered it and just was able to do it like over and over and over and over, just with practice. And so if that sounds like you, just know that's where you start. If you consistently can get people on the products, but you're just feeling like, I don't know how to get people working this business. First of all, share the business, and you have to be willing to follow up with people about the business. And we're actually talking about that on the podcast this week, the process of how to create business builders, which Christina has perfected at this point. So anyways, I just found it very interesting. You're saying I was working so hard, but I just wasn't growing. And that's why. And then as far as the hard conversation, she keeps saying I was trying to break up with her. False allegations, first of all. I did say, Christina, listen, you are like stuck in fear. I mean, so much fear. And we talked all the time. Like we've been power partners for years, and like we talk all day, every day. And so her energy, it influences my energy and vice versa. And there was no pulling her out of this. Like she'd go in the Jewel page and see one person complaining or blaming something for their lack of reaching their goals. And she'd be like, oh yeah, that's why my points ain't moving. Like, no. That's not why your points are not moving. Quit blaming you. And also it was like she was getting deeper and deeper into like a lack of belief that things even could change. And that was what was concerning to me, because I'm just like, well, that's not true. It could change if you would change. But, and I've told you this a million times. I've even called in the big dogs. I got her on the phone with Fallon. Like I did everything I knew to do. And so finally, I'm just like, okay, well, if she keeps going on this path, I'm going to lose her anyway. And I know where I'm headed, and I'm determined I'm going there with or without her. Like I definitely wanted her to come. Best friend, power partner since the beginning. And it was painful. I'm telling y'all, it was probably the most painful thing I've ever done in my business. I cried and cried and cried and cried before I even had the hard conversation, and cried and cried and cried a lot after it, because it was so painful to me. But it was a boundary that I had to put there because the relationship was starting to drain. Even though I loved her deal, I wasn't going to like not be her friend, but I definitely had to protect my mindset and be careful about the influences that I was allowing, because this was my livelihood. My family was depending on it. And also I knew where I wanted to go, and I was willing to do whatever it took. I didn't care if I had to read 10 million books or do 10 million cold reach outs. Like I just knew I was going to make it happen, and I'd figure it out, and I'd do whatever it takes. And I felt like she just wasn't at that point willing to do the things that I was saying. But eventually she did get willing.
So eventually she means by the end of that phone call. I'm like, this is extreme. Wait a minute. So you're saying the options are grow or We're not going to be a power. Well, that seems ridiculous. I'll just grow. Fine. What do you want me to read? Like, she said she cried afterward. I didn't. I read a book. I'm like, okay. Bless her
I
heart. She
cried
seems
so
so
much.
upset. I felt terrible. I'm like, I wish she'd have told me.
Pain you put me through.
I didn't know it was to
rude.
that point. I'm over here like, why didn't you just tell me this sooner? And she's like, Christina, I have told you this 947 times. I'm like, well, you should have been this plain about it. It makes perfectly good sense now. So here we are. But also there has still been so much failing forward since then, man, because when you raise your leadership lid, so I might have gone from a level 2 leader to maybe a level 3 or 4 or 5 leader, but even there's still so much room for growth. So, Sapphire happened, Diamond reentry happened. Brittney's over there crushing it. And so we've got all these new business builders in, and then, there's things you have to learn there at Diamond. It's like, okay, how do you prioritize? Who gets what part of your time? And, you can look back on your business at any season and find things that you're like, man, if only I had performed differently there, wonder if that outcome would be different, or wonder if where I'm at now is impacted because I chose this route instead of that route. So I think the key is constantly learning. And one thing that I think Brittney pointed out to me this year is sometimes when things feel hard or slow or dry, like what you really need is just an outside source of energy. And so I think what her and I have gotten really good at is taking responsibility for finding that outside energy. It can be a conversation with somebody. It can be a book. It can be, for me this week, it was a freaking report with numbers on it, which is so comical to me because I do not do numbers or statistics or strategy. I don't understand it. But this report this week that showed a gaping hole in my business, I'm telling you, it has motivated the crap out of me. I'm over here like, let's learn, let's fix things. So outside energy sources, I think, has been really helpful. If one of us is feeling down and out, the other one's doing something to pour into her. And so then it trickles over, or vice versa. So always learning new things.
Yes. So let me back up just a little bit. So I was Emerald for 2 years. I told you how I went Sapphire. Then I was Sapphire for 2 years for basically the same reasons. And I went Diamond by doing basically the same thing that I did to get from Emerald to Sapphire. I got my hiney into personal activity and created new business builders. And then when I did, it took me 7 years of blood, sweat, and tears to hit Diamond. And I remember one time in the Diamond page, somebody started a thread and asked, when did you truly believe that you were going to be a Diamond? And my answer was the day I woke up and saw 4,500 points in my back office. That was when I truly believed it, because belief in myself has been a struggle for me the whole time. Like I've just had to battle my thoughts of, why would anybody want to do this with me? I don't, like, Leslie lives in the same town as me. Why would they join me and not her? Or, didn't really have confidence in the value that I had to offer people, or just belief in myself that I could accomplish whatever I decided to accomplish. The good news is I do have that confidence now, but oftentimes for me, what builds my confidence is results. And then I can evaluate and assess, how did I get these results? Could I do that again? And the answer is yes. Like, I generally take time to process and reflect and determine how this happened, whether it's good or bad. I want to know, how did I end up in this situation? And that's where wisdom comes from. It comes from evaluated experience. And so I do feel confident now that I am right about network marketing, about our products, about our team, about whatever. And I do feel confident that somebody would want to join my team, but just know it took me years of personal development to gain that. And so anyway, okay. So that's kind of what I've struggled with along the way. My biggest struggles were belief, mindset, feeling like I couldn't do it, feeling like the mountain was too big to climb, wondering if I would ever figure it out. Oh, comparison. I forgot that one. I definitely struggle with comparison a lot. My upline, Fallon Black, she's very successful. She actually hit Diamond 5 years before I did. And so there was a lot of processing that, like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I in Hawaii 3 years in a row without anybody from my team here? Why can't I develop jewels? Why can't I develop leaders? Why can't I help people be successful as I am? And on and on and on, the negative thoughts about myself in particular. Those have been my biggest struggles throughout my business. And I still battle these negative thoughts about myself today. And really the only difference is now I feel more equipped to know how to respond when these negative thoughts pop up versus just dwelling on them or believing them and acting in accordance with them. Now I know how to change my thoughts, believe something different intentionally, and always be inputting positive things and belief into my mind so that I'm feeding my faith and my belief and starving my fear.
Yes, everything she said. And also find you a really smart power partner. Find you a really smart power partner. I'm telling you, it's made all the difference in the world that Brittney has had me to work with.
True. That's true.
It's really just made Brittney so much better to have Christina. Let's all just be really honest.
Listen, I'm here to serve the greater good. I mean, the company as a whole is better because I'm her best friend. It was worked out okay for her.
You've sacrificed so much, really, just for Brittney's business.
Sacrificed so many questions I've had to endure. So much.
Here's what's so funny is when I was talking about at the beginning about watching people zoom past you, is that we really are in our own lanes. Like y'all's lanes are kind of like mixed up a lot of times. Y'all are kind of like driving each other's lanes. Y'all are kind of doing it together, which is so much fun. But even when you felt like your car was broken down, or you felt like, oh my gosh, we're puttering along, or we're barely making it to the gas station, just this, that senior Ruby month, I'm sure you were like, we're making it to the gas station and every pump ends up being out of service, right? Like you're there, you made it, and yet you didn't make it. And I just think like, we think everyone is watching that and like waiting for us to fail, but really everyone around it, from this perspective, everyone was always waiting for y'all to win. Everyone was always excited for what you were doing and for what was happening over there. Because if y'all didn't catch it, Brittney's under Fallon, which is a totally different, I actually don't think that our lines ever connect all the way up to the top of the company. I think based on because y'all are under, Fallon's under, I don't know. We'll talk to Fallon next week, but y'all may know, like, Brittney, do you know where y'all actually like go up from Fallon? Like,
yeah, so Lori Welch, Amber Miller, Elizabeth Spohn. Is it Stephanie Abrams? I'm not sure who's above Elizabeth.
Right. So in saying that, like,
I know we're like Sonia and Helen's like level 15. I know that.
So y'all are Sonia, Helen, where I think we're not under we're under Sheila, but like a different leg of Sheila's outside of Sonia. So if y'all just think about like Sheila Medina, not that it matters because all of us are like her level like 20.
It doesn't matter, but we're under Allison Bro's leg.
Right, under Sheila. And I just think that what's fun about that is that we all have cheered each other on the whole time. Like I've been Diamond for the journey, but watching other people win as from where I'm sitting is like, oh, it's still happening. Oh, there's still momentum. Oh, there's still energy. Oh, people are still developing. And I think that has given me so much energy so that when I get comfortable in my lane, and then I see someone going 4-star Diamond coming right up past me and flying past, I'm like, okay, it's still happening. People are still developing jewel legs. Like there's not a stopping point. And I think that is actually really encouraging for us sometimes because that management mode is so easy. And if you are gold or senior gold or ruby and you're like, I'm just helping all my people do my thing. By the way, you're in management mode if you're not adding and developing silvers and you're just helping all your people. And Christina Williams has never made me feel more 3 to my 4-3 wing than I have felt the entire last 45 minutes. Cause I'm like, Becky and I have been friends for 20 plus years. And she's like, I think you're a 4. I think you're a 3. And like, when Christina's talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a 3 because it's that, because 4s actually don't have empathy. We have big feelings, but no empathy. And so when Becky's like, you need to lean into how someone feels about this. I'm like, I don't really, it's work. It doesn't really matter how they feel at this point. Like it's a job and that's hard for me. So when Christina's talking, she's like, well, why do I have to care about people's feelings.
Mhm.
Like, so here's what's amazing. We're all different and we've all done different things. Okay. I want to let people ask questions. I was so excited about I love listening to y'all. I love listening to y'all.
So
Okay.
while somebody's asking a question, what I'll tell you, Andrea, is feelings. We actually do have them. Type 3s, generally speaking, they kind of refuse to be controlled by them. So whereas other people have to like identify the feeling, figure out how they feel about it, figure out other solutions, 3s are just like, that feeling feels like a distraction from what needs to be done. So we just kind of disregard it for the simple sake of being efficient. I want to get some stuff done. And that feels like it's going to take a lot of time. Feelings are like, I don't understand them. And so then it's a process. So
I think I know I'm a 4 at my core and a major 3 wing. And so for me, it's like, I can talk about my feelings all day. I just don't care about everybody else's. So it's like, my feelings I can tell you how I feel. I'm real self-aware. And what I've noticed, Christina, is that conversation with Brittney, my question was going to be, how long did it take for you to were you self-aware enough to go, okay, she's right. It is a me problem. It's not a everybody else problem. And then how long did it take? But you said by the end of that call, which makes me believe you're really self-aware of, okay, I trust her enough that she's speaking like truth to me. And I got to make some differences. So self-awareness is so huge. Okay. I'm going to ask a question. What do you tell your team members when they're really close to rank up, but it still looks impossible? And this person, Chrissy's so close to Ruby, but it will take 8 more signups today. And she's never signed up more than 6 in a month. She's already signed up 5 this month. So I'm guessing feeling like 13 personal signups feels huge. Okay, y'all go for it. What would you say?
I would go ask those 5 people that you've signed up this month for some help. I'd be like, hey, listen, who do you know that we could pull in as an accountability partner for you? Here's why I need your support, and here's what's in it for you. Like, if you're willing to go grab your best friend or your husband or your sister or your pastor to do this with you, here's why they will benefit. Like, offering them incentive, whatever, do a prize for your friend who shares. And then you say, hey, listen, and the reason I'm asking is I'm actually going for the biggest rank of my life. And here's what it would mean for my family for us to achieve that. And you could play a vital role if you're willing to grab in, a bestie. I'll make it worth your while and their while.
Yes. And also I would look in the back office to see what you currently have. Look for anybody who has not ordered in 6 months or longer and offered them a discount to sign up with a new account. That would be some points. And then also any partials. I mean, look for those, offer them a discount to get over 100 PV. So that's like the low hanging fruit. And then any fence sitters probably would also offer a discount. Like if you're in this situation where you're like, I need 8 more by midnight tonight, basically that's like it's a very short-term goal. And when you have a limited time and a short-term goal, you kind of have to pull out all the stops and be willing to look a little desperate. So if you want it bad enough to look a little desperate, those are the things that you're going to have to do to get 8 more people by midnight.
She asked if we would do any kind of a public post. I think it's always okay to come across humbly when you make a post. Like again, like I said, like, you guys, my family and I are going for this massive rank today. Here's what it would mean. Don't use any, network marketing lingo, but like, here's what this achievement would allow for our family. Here's how we're planning to celebrate together when we make this happen. This is a result of me helping hundreds of people with their health journey. And I'm just looking for 1 or 2 more. So if you guys, and if there's somebody out there that would like to support us on this goal or whatever, I'm sweetening the deal just a little bit today. I have to have this in by 10 p.m. tonight. Shoot me a message if you want one of the discount code I have. I don't think there's anything wrong with a post like that. Just delete it tomorrow. Clean up your Facebook afterward.
Yeah, I agree.
I do think personal is so important though. And I would say and what Brittney said is get in your back office, have those conversations. You can simultaneously have a post going, but if y'all haven't noticed, a lot of Jules have been posting publicly about some codes that were received, but everyone that I've talked to is like, I'm only getting responses by personal messages. And so there's great awareness in putting a post out there. Action happens when you get into personal conversation.
Yeah. And I think the post it probably is most effective if it has time to build throughout the month. Like if you were halfway through the month and you felt like, oh, I'm getting really close and this is actually a possibility, then start posting every day, like I'm this many orders away. And this is why this opportunity has been such a blessing. And then like every day you post something different about why this opportunity has been a blessing, what it means to you, why you continue to do this, what's inspiring you right now. Because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? And so, and also people are not joining companies, they're joining you. And so you have to communicate publicly in a way that it brings people into your why, because that inspires and people will follow a story. But I think it's most effective if that has time to build. And if you were just like 1 or 2 away today, I think that getting a post that could help. But I don't really think it's going to get you 8 orders, but I think it could draw attention to maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, you could even offer a fun, like I think, the little Stanley cups are a fun thing right now, offer to do a drawing for everybody who adds 1, whether it's just product users on your team currently, Christy, or business builder, like, hey, everybody that adds 1 today, I'm going to do a drawing for 2 Stanley cups or something. I don't know. People like a prize, and they also like to help with a big goal. So again, telling people why this is important.
And one other thing, and this may or may not be relevant to today, but I have a girl who is pushing for Emerald points this month, and she was probably going to land, I don't know, 150, 175 points away from it. And she was like, I'm feeling pretty hopeless. I don't really know what to do. And I was like, it's not hopeless. So we got on a coaching call individually with each business builder on her team, which was like 6 of them, I think. And actually, no, I think she has 6 builders. We got on an hour coaching calls with 5 of them. And I just personally connected to hear their why and what they're trying to accomplish and what is their game, like help them come up with an action plan, a game plan, like map it out. What's this going to look like? What's it going to take? And then support them in their efforts. So asking them like, what feels hard? What can I do to help you close the deal with these people? Who do you feel stuck with in the conversation? Not sure what the next steps are. And then just like really hand holding her team to just make them feel invested in and give them a clear plan of action, give them just clarity and then inspiration and motivation so that they could go and put the work in. And they have. And so I feel confident she will hit it this month. But I think Ruby is definitely a leadership rank. And it's usually not a rank that you're going to hit on your own. It takes a team. And so connecting with your team and making them feel invested in and like you care about them reaching their goals, oftentimes it's just like Christina said earlier, the more people you help get what they want, the faster you get what you want.
I have 2 questions that came up. Brittney, when you had the level 1 that really pushed back on your leadership, how did you actually lean in and go, I'm still a good leader, she just doesn't want it? Like, was that did you have to kind of talk yourself into actually leading other people, or did you ever kind of fit? Because what I'm hearing Jessica say is, I doubt my leadership if somebody else doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Think back. That was
We
like
burned her house down.
it was like it was 10 years ago. I mean, I remember having a lot of feelings about it. And like I said, my belief in myself was already very shaky. But at the same time, I had an upline who was pouring belief into me and telling me I could do it. And I believed her because she was growing very rapidly too. And she just kept telling me, you can do this too. And I believed her. And also, I did keep working. And my very next business builder, she went fast start gold, which is back then was when you get 20 joins in your first 30 days. So it was really hard to hit fast start gold back then. And she did it. And I knew I had a massive part in it. Like if I hadn't helped her, she wouldn't have hit it. That built my confidence as a leader. Like I said earlier, like it's results. When I look back on results I've gotten, that builds my confidence. But it definitely, you have to be willing to put the work in to get the results. So I was just willing to put one foot in front of the other, even though I don't didn't feel like it, which I guess would be the definition of discipline.
And this is something really big for your whole team. And I was talking to Michelle about this when we were in Vegas or in Nashville, is your team is like spits out personal development. Like it's like a second language. Like it's almost like y'all read scripture comes out, and then y'all read personal development comes out. And like, I'm just saying, like your team in so many different instances, like this is what I see is it's like, you're just like, you're constantly processing out personal development. When did you kind of establish that? And what are some things that you feel like, someone asked, like, what books do you recommend? But I would just guess that, like, where would you expect, like, where would you take people through that personal development?
Yeah, the first book we ever started with was 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And so a lot of that book I felt like was intuitive, but then I was realizing there were a lot of people on my team who didn't find that to be so. And so that was eye-opening to me as a leader. And I just thought, oh, well, if they were to improve in these areas, then their results would improve. Their pay points would go up. They would climb through the ranks. So much of it depends on leadership skills and people skills. And so we've had book studies from the beginning, and I can thank Fallon for that. She's the one who established that. And once I started branching off and kind of doing my own thing with my own team, I just continued that. So thank you, Fallon, for that.
Love Fallon. She's so bold. Like she's someone that if someone like that was just like telling me like, you're going to do this, I'd be like, yes, ma'am. You just tell me what to do and I will do it, because she has so much like power. I love that her early story is, I think, her calling you and saying, we're going to hit these numbers. And you're like, oh, okay. And she was like silver. And she's like, she's not hitting those numbers, but she, by golly, believed she was going to hit them and you could hit them. And I just think that, like, watching that, I guess, like legacy belief built into the next level can do it just as much as, as we did it. I just think it's incredible. Y'all are amazing. I have loved getting to know y'all. I think y'all are such a powerhouse in a million different ways. I wish we had a second to talk about Christina's just like faith journey through this whole thing too, because I think there's kind of a story there as well. So I just think there's so many layers to these journeys. When y'all are watching emeralds and sapphires and diamonds in so many, different areas of this business, just know there are massive stories behind it. God is doing big things. All of the same belief things that they're saying they struggled with at all these ranks, I'm guessing every single person on this call is struggling with, from me, all the way through. And I just think it's encouraging to know, like, you can have struggles and you can push through them with belief and power partners. And we have a compensation plan that really does work. We have products that really do work. We have an industry that is really incredible. You can make a check with a comment in it from your yoga pants, in the gym, which, sitting on the screen and porch with your kids, vacationing with your best friends. It really is possible. And y'all are an inspiration to me to not stop and to keep going and to grow in new areas. And as long as we're all growing, we're moving in the right direction. And I just thank y'all so much for that. And we will let you go. We'll let Brittney take a shower and get a spray tan. So important. We will all see her glowing on social in the next couple of days. Y'all have a great day. Thank you so much for taking time out to spend time with us.
Thanks for having us. Definitely an honor. Bye.
Bye, y'all.